You have to value your skill. Don't think that you are an imposter here, that you aren't as good as somebody else. And yes, maybe you're not there yet, and maybe that's a skill that you need to continue to hone in on and develop, and then be willing to charge what you're worth.
Welcome to the Young and Driven podcast, where we explore the world of entrepreneurship. Join us as we dive into the nitty-gritty of what it takes to start, grow, and scale a successful business. We're on a mission to share our experiences, failures, insights, and advice with others. Whether you're just starting out in your entrepreneurial journey or you're looking to take your business to the next level, tune in and join the conversation about what it takes to succeed in the world of business.
We going full throttle.
Welcome to the Young and Driven podcast. This is the first episode that we are going to be recording and airing. I am sitting here with my partner in crime, my content director, pretty much whatever title he wants to give himself, Logan Prescott or Logan Miller, depending on where you follow him on social media. Logan is an incredible artist in every sense of the word. And frankly, he pisses me off because he's really great at pretty much whatever he touches. And for someone that has to work really hard to be good at anything, even just like mediocre at anything, it really, really sucks because he just kind of picks things up and then is like ridiculously talented with them. So, Logan, thanks for joining me. You are young, you are driven. So I think that we both fit this narrative. Normally what I'll be doing is I'll be interviewing higher level like business owners, probably like 7-8 figures, and we are not that. We don't make 7 or 8 figures with our business yet, and we're getting there. We're working on it, but he and I are partnered on a media company, and we're seeing a lot of success, and so I just kind of wanted to talk about it and talk to Logan about his artist stuff. So welcome. Thanks for being with me.
Yeah, thanks for having me. And we chat every single day, so this is really not much different than a typical day for us, huh?
But let's just dive, so that if you're watching this on YouTube, you're going to notice that Logan's like visuals are like really crisp and he has a great background, and then mine are like not good. And that's just a perfect metaphor for our personalities and how we approach life. He was like, "Hey, I'm sorry, I'm going to be 5-10 minutes late. I'm still setting up my camera." And I was like, "Dude, camera? What? Webcam? I'm not even rocking this." I'm really grateful that you're such a detailed person. Have you always been detailed? Have you always been meticulously detailed on everything you do?
Yeah, probably. I mean, I think with as epic an intro as you're offering me, and I think people don't see the behind the scenes of all the countless hours of YouTube tutorials and reading and being that nutty guy who's like, man, he doesn't socialize. He just spends time in his room learning unnecessary things. And then, I just get to show them off with a fancy camera on a podcast. So
it's for this moment. It's for this
That's
purpose.
Right.
All right, tell how long have you been making music?
Well, to go back to the origins of music in my life, my mom was a concert pianist, and so we all being my siblings and I, we all had to grow up playing piano. It was just a necessity in our house. And so at around 5 years old is when we started playing piano. And then my siblings gave up as soon as they were allowed at like 12 or 13. I'm done. I was pretty done with it too. It wasn't that I had an interest in music or playing piano, but for me, when I was around 9, that's when I discovered I didn't have MTV growing up. So I didn't have music videos on the TV, but I came across Yahoo Music. And that's where I got Green Day. That's where I got Yellow Card. That's where I got all of our early 2000s emo rock. For me, that was like a switch that was flipped on. For me, it was like, oh, I want to do this when I'm older. There was like no doubt in my mind, I'm going to be a musician. I'm going to learn guitar, and I'm going to grab the neighborhood kids, and we're going to make a band. And we're going to be the next Green Day. I didn't know any
Wait, did
other
you make a
artists
band?
at that
Did
time.
you have a band?
Oh,
you had
yeah.
a band?
Yeah,
Really?
I got my friend who was, I was 9. I had a friend who was 7 who lived down the street who I was like, hey, buy a drum set, like learn how to play drums. And he did it. And another neighborhood kid picked up the bass. and we were a little trio. Yeah, so that's where it all started for me.
What happened to them? What happened to that dream?
I think this was always like a frustration growing up, which now, of course, you grow up and you're like, oh, well, not everybody not every kid wants to just drop everything and be as type A and accomplished driven and stuff as I, kind of was around that time. I just wanted to be the best. I wanted to be the best songwriter and, they learned their instruments and then we would play some shows and then it was like, hey, I want to be a kid, and so I was like, over time, just, going through different bandmates and just over the years, I just kind of eventually became a solo act. And for me, that's been kind of complementary to my type A-ness. I'm like, wait, I should not say type A-ness. That's not going to sound right.
Lydia, clip it, Lydia.
There's a little clap. I told Lydia ahead of time I would give her audible notes if we need to cut something.
No, we're not cutting that. This is my show. What are you talking about? What are you talking about? That's
well,
awesome.
I can't go on saying something like anus.
What was the band name? What was the band name that you were in?
Well, okay, so just to help, I'm going to help you out, Lydia, in case you piece this together. Feel free to or not. But,
no. Nothing's getting cut. This all stays in.
Oh, man. She's absolutely
here.
cringing at this moment. I promise you.
And for context, sorry, Lydia is the podcast producer and just so happens to be Logan's wife. So it's a conflict of interest at this moment, but I hope she chooses the one that's paying her money.
Man, okay, so yeah, you're going to love this. We were called Crimson, and it wasn't spelled like the color. Of course, you can't do that. It was K-R-I-M.
Had to be hard to search for.
Oh, yeah, it was like you can't. Well, the big thing, too, when you're like 9 years old was I want to make sure I'm original. I want to make sure that there's nobody else in the world who has my band name. So it was like, well, surely I'm going to find the weirdest letters, K-R-I-M-Z-I-N. And everything was that. It was Crimson Christian Rock. So that was always the vibe.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm all in.
Yep.
No hit
Good
tracks,
old days.
nothing popped off, unfortunately.
Nothing popped off. No.
Okay.
No, I was always frustrated at like the Justin Biebers of the world,
Yeah. Yep. I understand. There's only just a little bit of talent difference between
blew
us
up,
and
and it's like, I was like, well, I'm basically doing the same thing as him.
Yeah.
No self-awareness.
Just Christian Crimson. That's it. I will. So
Crimson,
backstory.
yeah.
Like I met you. You put out a song. I think it was called "How We Wanted." I think that was when I first reached out to you. I was making music around the same time. Both of us were doing artist stuff. I reached out and I was like, dude, this is pretty sweet. It was pretty much you were doing what I wanted to do, but like actually doing it and like better. Because you were going after like it was like an 80s sound. We were both really into Joan, and so you're doing it. But then we united on the fact that we both got screwed over by the same person, which was really great. That's what all good relationships are forged on, is negativity of getting screwed over in the music industry, right?
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
Ever since then, I'm mad at you because you've only put out how many songs since then? You've only put out 5 songs?
Yeah, I mean it's probably 5 or 6, I think.
Okay.
Maybe. Yeah.
And then Lydia, if you want to throw in a little bit of Way Loud right here. And throw in a little bit of Nightmare right here. That's a taste of what Logan does. I'm just gonna trust the process and really put her editing skills to work. What's your game plan for putting out music going forward?
Yeah, well, I think this will eventually tie in to what all we've been up to and how busy you and I both have been, and how my trajectory of releasing music this year has been every couple months I want to release a track. Now, when big opportunity hits, it's like, okay, I gotta yield to what is serving me most in my artistry and in my personal life, and surviving in a place like Los Angeles, which is where I live. And in our case, that was the opportunity for us to start doing social media work, and I was doing video editing and all that this year up until we got together and actually teamed up, which again we'll talk about more. But that kind of put a little bit of a delay on some of the new releases, but I've got some that are coming out in the next couple months. So always excited to get music out. It's always it's a double-edged sword, because I'm a music producer also, so I'm doing all of it here in this studio room right here.
And by the way, he's the type of person where he's like,
yeah.
all the instruments are him, all this stuff. Like, I can't do that. I can play guitar, I can play a little bit of synth, and I can sing. And then I go find people that can do the rest of the stuff. He's just like, I'm just gonna figure it out, and I don't need no man, I don't need no band. I'm just gonna do this, and it is pretty incredible. So it's like the type of music where it's impossible for you to not like it. Your entire discography, if you put it, it's like, do you really want summer vibes? You're sitting in the right place. Do you want to feel like you can just put this on shuffle and put the headphones in and just like ride a train down the coast? Like, that's the track for you. This is the soundtrack to that life. So
Man, appreciate it.
Definitely look it up.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think it's again, it's got its pros and cons, right? Because I think being a perfectionist, it's like one of those things where it's like, oh, I'm a perfectionist. It's almost like you're bragging about, like, oh, I'm very detail oriented. I make really good quality art, but it's obviously the cons of being a perfectionist is, especially in artistry, is that you hold on to your art until it's perfect, and of course it never is. It's like, you never want to let something go until you feel like it's exactly how you want, and it's never going to get to that point. And so, it's a years-long battle and a continued battle of going, I need to just release something. I need to just get something out in the world. You are obviously laughing as it pertains to video editing, too, as we've, spent so many times.
It's both, though, because I'm like, I would call you every like 4 months, 5 months. I would call you during music, and I'd be like, Logan, where's this song coming out? Like, you would show me a song, you would send me a track, and I'd be like, dude, that's awesome. Put it out right now. And you're like, I just, I'm like, I think I could do like 1 or 2 more mixes on it. I'm like, dude, what are you doing? Just like put the track out. Like, when I came to LA and we hung out, I listened to probably 6 songs. 3 of them are done. And you're like, they're like, it's like, they're like right there. And I'm like, dude, it's a finished track. It's complete. It's perfect. You're not going to make it any more perfect. It's both like, it's part of like what makes you amazing and what makes you awful at the same time. It's like your most annoying trait and the best part of my life, because for someone like me that is not organized and needs to be a little bit more perfectionistic, like, I think you balance me really well, because it's like, because I'm like, let's go, let's release it, let's move on to the next thing. And you're like, no, hold up, let's make sure that we're, like, okay, sweet, okay, I'm just going to dial this in really quick. And then, so I think that constant like grounding me is really beneficial.
Dude, yeah, it's a both and. It really, really is. And I think to have the self-awareness of an artist to first go, my music is much better, released out into the world than sitting on a hard drive. Same with whatever craft. And we spend a lot of our time these days dealing with video editing for, short form and long form for our clients. And in the same way, it's like you can spend countless hours on something to make it perfect. And especially on social media, again, same thing with music, though, is who is the audience and how quickly are they, receiving and spending time with that piece of art? And then how quickly are they able to just scroll past it if you're not checking the right boxes right away? And so you can spend time on the details that don't matter or that might matter to you. And for me, this is, again, a battle that I'm always dealing with. I think it's a good battle to have. What are some of the things I don't want to die to? What are the things in my craft, in my video editing, that I'm like, this is a non-negotiable. This is what makes me stand out as a video editor or as a music producer. This is important to my craft to be able to do this well. And then at the same time to say, is somebody even going to get that far in the video to really care? Is your typical audience really going to have eyes to see the interesting animation I spent 4 hours on that really, it's like they're just receiving that information for the content that's there, not the little animation, and the things, the minutia of all the content that's out there that people are, receiving every single day. So it's both. Absolutely, it's both. But, finding that middle ground is really, really important. And we have constantly been up against this of let's get content out there and let the people decide what is quality and what is, what is worth spending more time on.
Yeah, I think we can tend to and I guess I'll shift gears here towards both artists and business owners. I think it's kind of unanimous for both when it comes to content creation. You overthink how much people care about you. You do. You think you're going to put out this piece of content and you're like, this is it, and I've made it, and it's awesome, and this is perfect. But that's just not how the market goes. It's sometimes, things go in your favor, and one of the first things you put out, people are really going to connect with. But more often than not, it's the slow growth, the harder growth. It's the investment in the community, and it's the fact that you give yourself enough at-bats to exist where one of those at-bats ends up working, right? So it's I think it happens with musicians where it's every artist that quits 2 years in, you're not going to suddenly blow up. Sometimes you do get lucky. Sometimes I've seen a ton of people where it's those first 2 years, maybe something happened or maybe they were an industry plant. Usually there's a decade of time of investment and hard work and things that you've put in to actually get to that point. But if you're good, if the stuff you put out is not crap and you're really good and you're really passionate and you're targeted with who you're trying to communicate with and trying to help, or targeted towards the demographic that you're trying to put your music out to, I think if you do that for 10 years, it's almost impossible to not get heard by that group, one way or the other. Do they accept you? Not always, but it's impossible to not make it. It's just that your definition of making it might be different than the truth, where it's you look at someone that has a viral video, or if you look at someone that I remember when I was putting out music, and I think my goal was I want to get 30,000 streams on a song this year, and it's I got that, and then I got that in a month, right? And then my mind was that's unimpressive, 100,000 streams, or else, and then I got that, and it was that's just they're arbitrary numbers, because then you look at the comparison of who you actually want to compare to, because then you're okay, it's not the peers, it's the next level. And with business owners, I think it's the same exact thing, where it's you look at these social metrics, these vanity metrics, and it completely misses the point of I just want to add value to a community. I just want to give to people that need to hear this. I have something to offer, right? And I shouldn't hold it back or be scared about what they think. I should just offer it, and then if they accept it, awesome. If they don't accept it, it's still a reflection of who I am and what I want to do. So I've seen business owners that do that, and it usually ends up working out anyways, but it's just a mental shift. The amount of artists, I'm going to call out an artist called Steven, STVN, and I'm pissed off at him every single time I talk to him, because he's amazing. His name is Alex, and we both know him, we're both friends with him, and he has, I think, a dozen killer tracks on a hard drive for 2 years. And I'm bro, we have to get this, doesn't matter, let's just get this. I think if you're an artist, there's no reason to have stuff unreleased. There really isn't. All the competition you're facing, they're putting stuff out, and some of it's connecting. 1975 put out 16 ridiculous songs in a row that were all completely genreless. There was one song where they're copying Bon Iver. There was another song they were copying the Beatles. There was another song where they're doing something in the 80s. They're doing everything. So it's just put stuff out and see what connects, and then make decisions based off of that. Because if you're scared about what people think you are, or what people assume you are, then you're just not going to make it very far, because you're too others focused rather than just trying to offer something to a community. Yeah, I'm gonna get off my box there.
I mean, it's so true, and you and I have had this conversation so many times in the same vein as Steven, where I'm always asking the question: is this song sounding enough like me? Or does this sound like it's for somebody else? And for context, I've been in more of the setting of songwriting for other people as well before, and and sometimes you come up with ideas when you're by yourself that you do have another artist in mind, or you have somebody in mind that you're oh, I should make a song in this genre or in this style, and then inevitably there are some of those tracks that you just fall in love with, and you're like, ooh, I think I want this for my own. I think I'm going to be a little greedy here. And when that happens, it is a fair question. You know, you're going, is this enough like my artist project, which I know you cringe at the idea of like having a specific project or genre or, you know, and rather I think of like maybe not the best example, but like the Bruno Marses of the world who have traveled across genres and, you know, always sound like Bruno Mars. And then more, I mean, an even better example, and my favorite example, is the Beatles, who you could say, well, I don't really like the hokey, like 50s inspired music of their early stuff. And then you go, well, there's such a wide range over the years of like where their music ended up, all the in between, and it sounds so different over time. I think it can be really like stifling and limiting for an artist, and I've been in this exact spot. I'm in it now with certain tracks where I'm like, I think this might not be enough of a me song. Maybe I should hold off. But then again, it just sits on your hard drive, and I think that's something that a lot of artists these days, if they aren't already getting on board, I think they need to, is to just understand that the music business is more so exactly what you're talking about. It's just getting songs out. Pieces of art like this aren't like, you know, as formal as they used to be delivered on a CD or a record. And you can just upload something and you can see how it does. And yes, you can take it down if you don't like it or you change your mind later. You have that ability. I don't, you know, that's a different story, whether you should exercise that ability. But I think the fact that you can just upload something has shifted the whole narrative for musicians and music producers and songwriters. You can just upload anything and people can tell you whether or not it's good from a TikTok video. And if they don't think it's good, you move on to the next thing. But you got it out of your system. You got the idea out. You didn't just like get 2 days into a song and then go, well, I'm not going to finish it because I don't think it's good enough. You actually got an idea out. And I think it's like that dirty water analogy, like turning on the faucet. You got to get the dirty water out first. I think that's exactly how all ideas work, is you just have to let ideas get out, and then you can move on to the better ones. And you have to, it's more of a quantity game, and people don't like saying it's, you know, quantity over quality. I don't think it's
sorry,
that.
I got to cut you off.
It's
Are
a
you talking to
matter of-
yourself right now? Are you talking to yourself?
Absolutely.
Because
I'm
I
talking
need,
to myself.
this is what I yell at you like every
I'm talking
week.
to, yeah, but I mean, it's absolutely true though for artists of any size though, you know, it's absolutely the case. It's just, it's a matter of just getting ideas out, you know. So, okay, so this is you, you know, dogging me right now, but did you ever have this situation? I know you've looked back on your old music and you've thought, oh, do I want to keep this up? Am I happy with it? I mean, how was that for you earlier on with some of those songs that you uploaded? Were you happy with all of them? Do you feel content now with your decision to keep those up?
I actually can't. So like the only reason I can't stand my own music is because it's like a me thing. Like you move on, you like different stuff later on, and it's like you always look back to the stuff that like you did, and you're like, ah, man, I would do something different now. Or like you listen to that song. Like I don't listen to my own music because it's like I just know I'm not gonna like it. And I always like every time I made a song, I was always more excited about the song I was making than the song I was like releasing. So that's like the biggest factor. For me, like I do think that's why you just got to get it out like as soon as possible. Don't overthink it. Just put it out, because if you like, the worst case scenario is that no one listens to it. That's the worst case scenario. And my argument is also like every artist, you know, their first EP before they got signed, or even their first EP after getting signed, or like album even after getting signed, usually sucks. Like I don't know if you've listened to Coldplay's first EP. It's garbage. There's like not even like a decent track on it. And then that first album, people like it a lot, but like maybe there's 2 good tracks and people just talk about Yellow, right? Like you just need that time to cultivate all the good stuff. Like everybody talks about like these people that drop out of nowhere and they have these really great first albums. They win, you know, new artist of the year or whatever. That's before that's after they got signed. Like all the stuff that they made beforehand, all the stuff that Billie Eilish made beforehand, all the stuff like it usually isn't that great. Like you can see videos of these people performing.
Sure.
You can see videos of Katy Perry singing before she was Katy Perry, when she was Kate Hudson, and it's like it's not awesome. It's not great. She's just a person. And then it's just the longevity and the branding and the machine behind it. Like that's usually what it takes. So I just think Yeah, if I were approaching music now versus approaching music back when I was, and I probably will put out music again, but like if I were to do it now, I would care much less. Like I would care so much less about details. I'd care so much less about like my artistry. I kind of cringe at that word. Like if it's not fun, don't do it. And if it's not creative, like you don't enjoy the process of it, don't do it. But if you have it, like don't withhold it. Just like you worked hard on it, you spent money on it, time's more valuable. So like have it be a reflection of something you've done. And I just wish, I don't know, everyone I see that's blowing up right now, and it might just because of TikTok and social media, like the way that TikTok has changed music is huge. Where you can be, edgy or bad or like just kind of like, not necessarily memorable, but because you caught a trend, it works out really well. I think in that world, it's a quantity game. And actually, I have to shift gears here. Like in the world of just social media in general, it's a quantity game. I think like quantity and quality are the two levers, right? And so whenever I'm talking to like a new business owner that's asking me and saying like, Grant, what should I do with content? How do I get started? How do I build a brand? I don't try to sell them on high quality stuff like we do. I try to say, okay, first off, you need to find your voice. You need to figure out what your voice is, and that means that you just have to put yourself in front of the camera. And I usually recommend like you do like 3 stories a day. Just do 3 stories a day, you talking to it. Because after 90 days of you doing that, you're going to feel a lot more comfortable talking in front of a camera. You can post a bunch of those.
Absolutely.
They're not going to look great, and they're not going to get a ton of attention. But at the very least, you get yourself into that rhythm where you care less about what people think and the response, and you just more so get used to talking.
Yeah.
And then once you've established that, and once you've actually built your like tiny little base, it doesn't have to be a lot of people. It can be less than 1,000 people. It can be 1,000 people. But like once you've built that, then when you pull the lever of quality and you pull the lever of quantity on top of it, right? That's when you start to see things really compound and explode, because you don't have to start with this big camera in front of your face and then suddenly you have to be professional. Like I've done those shoots, and like I sucked. If I didn't feel confident talking, and like if I started this podcast 4 months ago, I would have sucked, right? And like honestly, it's because like I just got used to talking in front of a camera and caring less, and that just takes like time to do. So I that's what I definitely encourage both artists and business owners. I'm like, bro, just do something. You're not going to learn anything. You got to fail, and be willing to fail a ton. Get your worst 100 videos done as fast as possible, like as fast as you can. Get 100 videos out, because they're all going to be bad. Don't hope for any one of them. You're going to grow hopefully with each one. But in my mind, like artists, get your first 10 songs out as soon as possible. Like they're not going to be good.
Absolutely.
And if you have the career that you want to have, you're going to be putting out dozens and dozens of songs. Like the bands that you like are usually the bands that like probably do like they have like 10 albums. And they have bad albums and they have good albums.
Yeah.
So it's like their first like did you like Switchfoot growing up? Were you a Switchfoot fan?
Oh,
or
I
no?
love Switchfoot. Yeah,
Dude,
huge Switchfoot
that was
fan.
my tish. Yeah. John Foreman, that was like my whole thing. I basically like shaped my personality around him. And their first 3 albums suck. They're pretty bad. Like they're not good.
Yeah.
Beautiful
Sure.
Letdown was like their first like decent album. So it's like
That's when I fell in love with him. Yeah, for
you
sure.
yeah, exactly. So in my mind, I'm like, you guys got to get through your first 3 albums. Like get through it. And business owners, you got to get through your first like 100 pieces of content. Get you through your first 3 months, and just it's okay if you suck. Like 5 years from now, if you're still doing it, you're going to be pretty great.
Definitely. Yeah. There's this great little book called Show Your Work by Austin Kleon, where he talks about this idea of, getting your work out there. You're showing little pieces of your journey along the way of developing in your craft. And of course, we as artists, we put our content online and we feel like it needs to be the final product, whether that's on Spotify and it's a song, or whether it's a YouTube video and it's your first one. And obviously there are going to be those pockets of people who are not supportive and who are looking at, art like that and, think, oh, wow, like, look at his crappy camera. Like, look at, he doesn't know how to talk to the camera. His eyes are dodging all over the place. And yet, like, it takes uploading that work and showing it along the way to really go over time, see that journey, yes, you could record 100 videos in your bedroom by yourself. And we deal with our clients on this same thing, going back to your topic around posting stories. It's a habit to get into, but it's something that's really important to do early on, not because you're going to be wonderful at it, but because it's going to be something that as you do it more frequently, you're going to learn, first off, that it doesn't really matter. Whatever you're posting on your story, it doesn't have to be high quality. It doesn't have to be, it's going to be there for 24 hours. Like, just do something. Just try it.
Yeah.
And I'm a really bad example here because I got on a good habit of posting on stories, and then I kind of fell off. And again, it's because it's a muscle to like work out. You have to get in the habit of doing it, not because you have to always be putting yourself in front of the algorithm, always have to be putting yourself in front of people going, hey, look at me, but because we get an opportunity to document every day, and you can use that story as the way of doing that, to just simply go, hey, here's what I'm up to today. If you're an artist, if it's like me, if I'm working on a song later today, I get the opportunity to post up, put my phone right there in the corner. I can record a video of me making the song that you're going to hear in 2 months. And now what? You're more connected to that song once it's out because you got to be a part of the journey. And in some cases, there are some really awesome examples. We keep going back to music, but there's some really great artists who, especially during COVID, went the live streaming route, got really big on Twitch. And they would not only live stream them making a song for their upcoming album, but they would even ask for people's input, or they would receive that input people are putting in the chat. Like, dozens of comments coming down in the chat, right? And they go, I'm actually going to replace the snare with the one that they said. I'm actually going to, what if we do a key change here? Whatever the case is. And you see some of these artists where they had dozens of people in the credits on Spotify from these chats. And it's like really spectacular because now you have an interesting story around that song rather than you just having done it all by yourself. Again, bad example here because I tend to like working on songs by myself, and then I can make it exactly how I want, but also it's important to collaborate, but it's really cool that it has that story and that journey behind it. Those people and the people who want to be a part of your community and be a part of that next song, well, now they're joining your Twitch because they heard about the people who were on the last song. It's not because everybody wants songwriter credits necessarily. We don't get paid anything from songwriter credits anyway, but it's really cool to get to show that journey to people.
Let me go even wider, and I'm going to speak to people that don't know music and don't know the music industry. So on Spotify, if you stream a song, that equals 0.4 of a cent that the artist gets, which means that if you see an artist with a song that has 1 million streams, they got $4,000 from Spotify. Now, you might have gotten more money from like other venues streaming on iTunes or other places like Google Play or something like that, but usually it's like a good metric. So the odds, and just to give you like a perspective, like that artist probably spent 30 to 40 hours, maybe 60, on that one song. And if they paid someone else to produce it or anything else, they probably spent upwards of like $1,500 to $3,000 for that song. And that can go crazy. Like some people at lower levels, like they're spending like you're paying a producer like $400, $800, right? And then you pay a mixer probably another $400, and then you pay someone to master it probably like $200, $250, right? But like at the end of the day, like that plus all your time adds up, and they just don't make money. So that's why I'm like, the goal should not be for music to make money. And I think exactly like Logan's saying, like the goal should be just to build community through art, through creativity, through something that's like fun for you. And I think a lot of kids end up pursuing music thinking this is like their way to make money, and it's just a way to grow exposure and point people toward. It's like a marketing tool. It's basically another social media platform. I know I hate to say it, but like most of the people that you follow, most of the artists you know, they make no money from streams. I'm not saying they should make more. I think people make enough money from where they do it, but like if you're creative enough, you should do a Patreon, you should do OnlyFans, you should do like whatever. You should like sell merch. Like I know people that do all three of those, and they make money with connecting with their fans in music. So there's just so people that are not aware, that don't do music, that don't know what it's about, like what's impressive is actually not really impressive. And the coolest part is when you just have people that connect with it in general. And my favorite thing is seeing people go on their first tours. That's like my favorite thing to witness. Like if I have friends and it's like, I'm doing my first tour, I'm like, that is your dream. That is like, it's more than just getting the million streams. Like that was the goal, where you could go out and you could play songs and you have people showing up and you're actually selling out crowds, and it's for your music. That is the coolest thing on the planet Earth. There's like each tier is like, I just want to put something out. I want to get a little bit of notoriety. I want to be able to make money doing music. And once you hit that point, that's where people kind of stall out. And figuring out how to make money as a creative is really difficult. I was talking to people, and I was like, okay, when I made music, I had a couple kids, and I was like, shoot, I probably need to go back to being a dad and living corporate life. So I went and I worked for 5 years. I worked in IT, but most of the people that I was connected with in music stayed in something creative. So like Logan, you worked in the corporate for a little bit, but you've continually done music, and then you started doing YouTube editing. And most other people that I connected with also do something creative. Like they do graphic design, they do some level of social media stuff. They're just talented in some way because they wanted to create that, keep that creative element with them. And then I started talking to business owners, and I found more and more that they were really good at business, but they were really bad at creative. And then I talked to creatives, and usually what ends up happening is you're really good at creative, but you're really bad at figuring out how to make money. That's usually the tone. And I at this point, I've talked to probably 2-3 dozen creatives in the last month or two, and it's like, let me talk me through your contracts, talk me through how you're negotiating these deals, talk to me how you value yourself. Almost every time people undervalue themselves because they don't recognize what their worth is. And then I talk to business owners, and they're like, man, if I could just find someone to solve this problem, I would pay them this much. And it's like, okay, sweet. So essentially what me and Logan have done is we've like created this middle ground where I would love for us to be a safe haven for those creatives that want to do the thing that they love doing and want to be paid more than fairly, and then connect them with the business owners that really want something high quality but can't afford to hire their own in-house marketing team and don't really even understand like what creative is and how to direct it. So we can kind of like, essentially that's what our company is. Our company is called Integrity Media, and we combine that creative with business, where it's like, if you're a business owner and you're an e-learning coach, or you're a small business owner and you're trying to grow your personal brand, you could hire someone from the Philippines to edit for you, and you're probably not going to be able to give them a ton of direction, and you're probably just going to throw some, reels that you've seen on social media and say, hey, can you replicate this? And maybe they can, and maybe that's awesome. But odds are you're going to be pretty disappointed when you're comparing to other people. And so for us, that's what we love to do. We love to help people become the best and do the best stuff. This isn't a pitch. We were pretty exclusive with who we work for, but I think the long story short is like, if you're a creative, there's a lot of ways to make money. And if you're a business owner, there's a lot of creatives that are looking for money and are more than capable of helping you out. So long story short, just put content out there first and do it consistently, because the only way you're going to be known, whether you're a creative or whether you're a business owner, is just to start. And it's so much easier to build on that validity because you have some level of presence where people are able to say, okay, what you're doing is cool. I know how to help you do it better. That's so much easier. You're not going to do anything if you're not known. So if you have 3 songs out, put 10 songs out. And I don't care if they're acoustic tracks. I don't care if a year later you're like, man, I hated that track. That's okay. That's part of the progress. Look at Mr. Beast's videos. Mr. Beast is a great example in both regards. His YouTube videos sucked. They were not good. He had a video where he said Logan Paul for like 48 hours straight. All right? Not a good video. Impressive, not a good video, right? And now he recently put out a video that was like the second most watched video on YouTube, exploring yachts, right? You have to go through all that crap in order to learn the negative lessons. And I think a lot of people are just not willing to do bad, like to put out bad stuff in order to grow and do great stuff. I wasn't, and I think that's the thing I'm always having to kill myself with now, is like, even this podcast, like if I overthought the way I thought with my artistry, something like this would never be put out. But I don't care if this gets 1,000 listens. Like I just want, if there's one person that's listening to this, if there's one artist that's listening to this, put your music out. If there's one business owner that's listening to this, you are going to make more money 5 years from now if you put out a piece of content every single day. If you are known by more people you are going to make more money. That happens in every regard for every single thing. That's not to say that you should be chasing millions of followers, even 100,000 followers. That's not the goal. The goal is connecting with your community. You can do so much more with an engaged group of 10,000 people than you can from a disengaged group of 100,000 people. So don't chase these vanity metrics. Chase connection and be genuine with your community. Start. And if you continue on that path, then pull the levers of quality, then pull the levers of quantity. And I guarantee you, everyone else that's done this, they're millionaires. Everyone else that hasn't done this and quit, they're haters. So which one do you want to be? Because that's kind of the two choices.
Yeah. I mean, I know that feeling of being desperate for the next job. So imposter syndrome is real. I don't think it's valid when I say it's real. I think it's a real feeling that we all have, and we go, who am I to be making a YouTube channel? Who am I to be uploading a song that I made on GarageBand? And I think that feeling is there. It's you going, who am I to make a podcast? I think we can all do that, and I think artists do this all the time. Whether you're trying to build a brand or be an influencer of some type, and I know that's kind of a catch-all phrase. If you want to make a brand, if you want to be a business, or if you're, somebody like me who before, who is doing video editing as a service, or whatever service you provide people, if you edit podcasts, you have to value your skill. Don't think that you are an imposter here, that you aren't as good as somebody else. And yes, maybe you're not there yet, and maybe that's a skill that you need to continue to hone in on and develop, and then be willing to charge what you're worth. And I know it's really, really hard to say, how am I going to charge 3 times as much as the next guy? Competition's there, I don't want to lose the gig. Sure, develop the skill. Alex Hormozy talks about, being an intern and learning a skill and getting to that point. Sure, get to that point, and as much as possible, if this applies to your life situation, don't stress about the money as long as you can until you have something to really offer in the business place. And then, great, come out with the skill that you've spent so much time, even if that's from YouTube University, meaning free YouTube videos. You've just learned stuff. I have never taken, until recently, I'm seeing the value in taking courses because I'm going, hey, pinching pennies is not helping me get to that next level of where I'm trying to get in my craft, regardless of what that is. But that being said, that meant that I was so frugal. I spent years and years and years and countless hours on YouTube watching tutorials of all kinds, and that's everything I've done up to this point, whether it's you're hearing my music or watching my video editing. It's all been from just watching other people do it on YouTube and just nose to the grindstone, just doing it myself and trying to figure things out. That being said, pay what a piece of information is worth. There's so many wonderful courses out there. Develop a skill as quickly as you can and then charge fairly for it. Charge what you're worth.
I think it also just I don't want to speak to imposter syndrome because I don't like that term. I don't like it only because you are who you are, and there's no one else that's you, right? And that sounds like a superlative, but it's not. You are uniquely you, and there's things you're really good at, and there's things you're really bad at, and that's okay. You're comparing yourself to people that are really good at things, and you're not really seeing the things that they're really bad at. You're only comparing yourself to their best qualities, right? Which might be your weaknesses. Yeah. So it's the sooner you can be yep, I'm really good at this thing, and then continually hone in and try to learn on the things that you're really bad at. I think that's the nice middle ground. I could, this is just me. I could try video editing. Logan, I don't think I've edited a video for us. For any of our clients. I might have cut something, but I don't think I've actually edited a single piece of content. If I started doing that, I would be really bad at it. And I could probably figure it out if I was Grant, you're going to be a great video editor. It would probably take me 3 to 5 years of just grinding it. I'm really bad at it. But there's other things that I'm really good at, right? So it's that's why there's people that complement your weaknesses. You don't have to be the one-stop shop. You just have to kind of find the place that's the safe haven So creatives, if you are like, I'm really good at something specific, we're hiring. But FYI, we're scaling. we've 4x'd in the past couple months. I've also to speak to like pinch and pennies. I think this is the first month. We've been at this for like 6 months. This is the first month I'm going to pay myself, which is going to be really nice. I quit my job a couple months ago, and it's like, this is the first month I'm actually taking money.
Everybody else on the team, yeah, they've been paid. They're all taken care of, but you haven't yet taken care of yourself.
But like, at the same time, I don't think people are willing to do that, right? Like, people aren't willing to endure crap to be able to scale something, to do something that's like good. Like, I'll make my money. I'm going to help people. That's my goal. So like, this is a path that we're able to do this. And I think the reason we're able to do this, and the reason that people are like, oh, what you guys are doing is really cool, is like, no one's willing to make that kind of sacrifice. No one's able to make the sacrifice for work, right? To like actually put in the effort to get really good at something. No one's able to take the risk, and like, in my case, like, leave a corporate job. Like, people aren't willing to do that. And I would just encourage more people, like, if you have a skill set, lean into it. There's an audience for you. There's a job for you. There's something for you. There's a customer base for you. You just have to lean into it. So, we'll wrap up this podcast. 2 things. 1, go listen to Logan's music. Support him. Follow him on the socials. It's Logan Prescott Music, right? That's what it is on Instagram.
That's right.
Right?
Yeah.
So go follow him. His videos are just so killer, and like, his music is honestly some of my favorite music. Like, I don't just say that. It is some of my favorite music. Like, my kids were humming it the other day. Like, my daughter, I have 2 kids, and my daughter was like humming way loud the other day. So really, really awesome stuff. And then also, like, this podcast, this isn't going to be the format. This is us. I own 2 small businesses, right? So like, I'm not giving a huge introduction on who I am. You'll hear more from me and about me, but like, we're small business owners. So we're doing our thing. We're creatives that like just are trying to make it. And fortunately, we're doing really well with the clients that we have, and we're really appreciative, and I think we're growing really quickly, which is really encouraging. But the people that are going to be on this podcast are mostly going to be business owners. They're mostly going to be people in different industries. Some people from Amazon, some people from like SaaS companies, some people that are in finance. Like, there's a lot of people that are going to be joining this. They're going to be able to give you insights. If your goal is not just as a creative, but just as a person, like, you want to upskill and you want to have access to knowledge that's going to allow you to do the things that you want to do. I'm bringing in people that have done that. I think Logan's a good example of like a creative that's done it. Not only is he making money with music and positioning himself for long-term success in that front, but he's also supplementing it with different types of creative income. We haven't even talked about it, but you were killing it in the corporate world before you made this jump, and you were a big encourager to me to be like, Grant, make the jump, because you'll love owning your time. And I just haven't looked back. It's been wonderful. So if you're a business owner also, and you have an e-learning course, or like you're just a small business owner, you want to grow your personal brand, and maybe you've tried some of the stuff that we've talked about, reach out to us, because we're really good at helping you engage with your audience. Our goal is to help 1 million business owners curate their story by 2030, and we're going to do that through a lot of different ways. But we've been able to help. I mean, in terms of consulting and then working directly with clients, we've helped close to 50 different business owners in the span of time, and it's really, really been wonderful, and loving the results that we're getting. So feel free to reach out to us, and yeah, I'll see you on the next episode.